Welcome everyone to my channel. Ashley here with Tolton Art. I am a full-time artist. I have been for a few years. I tend to do a lot of business style content as well as vlogs and time-lapse painting videos. I try to keep it fresh and different and give you guys a little bit of everything. So again, if you're new here, welcome. If you are returning, it's good to see you again, as always. Today we're gonna be talking about how to deal with failure as an artist. So let's start off by defining failure. I'm just kidding, we're not gonna do that. We all know what failure is. We know what it feels like. It can suck, it can be hard. And I say can because we'll get there. But failure can look differently to different people. It can be that you just finished a piece and you just feel like you could never get it to the point where you wanted it to. You could be creating artwork and nothing's selling. There's so many different ways that failure can kind of creep into your life. So what do you do when you feel this way? In order to shine some light on this, let's backtrack a little bit. So I used to be a professional athlete. I did show jumping full-time. I was a trainer. And there is a certain aspect that comes with being at that high level of performance where you get really familiar, especially in the horse industry and riding horses. You get really familiar with failure. The reason I say that is because when people see show jumping from the outside, they see probably like the 50 seconds, minute and a half that we are in the arena and they're like, that's easy. What they don't see is the fact that it took us not only decades to get there, but 6 days a week we're riding anywhere from 5 to 14 horses. We've been practicing so many hours every single day on top of keeping our own physical fitness up. Like, there is so much to it. And really the art of show jumping is learning from your failures at home and improving on your failures at home so that your moments of success happens when you're at competition in the show ring. So I would say 90% of horseback riding is failing, and you're hoping for that 10% of success to happen in the arena. Obviously, we don't want to fail. We're not like setting horses up to fail, but we are always challenging ourselves. We're always teaching our horses. We're always pushing something in order to make our horses more adjustable, more knowledgeable about what they're gonna see, more willing and like mentally pliable so that we can ask many things from them very quickly. There's a lot that we're practicing at home, and that leads to a lot of mishaps at home. Sometimes at shows too. I have had some major mess ups at horse shows, and they're just learning experiences, which kind of gets me into this first thing of what being a pro athlete has taught me about failure and how this can apply to you as an artist. So I think one of the best things is it's never failure. It is never failure. That's why I was always putting them in quotations, because I never view mistakes, mishaps, anything like that. None of that is failing. Failing is when you quit, but you didn't want to. That's failing. Making a mistake is just a learning opportunity. So switching your mental approach to failure is a huge step in building resilience for it, because mistakes are inevitable. So you might as well just get comfortable with it. In short, view mistakes as learning opportunities. I would say if something doesn't go the way that you want to, look back at it and even write it down if that helps. What happened? Why do you think this happened? And how can you change this for the future? Like, if that situation comes up again, how do you do something different in order to get a different result? By analyzing it that way, you're really getting your mind into a proactive state where you can think ahead for the next time. Another big tip is visualizing. As an athlete, always before competition, before something difficult, I am always running through it in my mind to the extent where you feel like you are living that moment. You can smell it, you can hear the sounds, you can feel the feels. You make it such a full body replay of how you want it to go. And I actually do the same thing for art. There's many times where I will dream about painting, or when I leave the studio in the evening or in the morning before I come in, I will really sit and analyze a piece and be like, okay, what is it that I see myself needing to improve and work on today on the piece? And I will visualize myself problem solving or painting a new section. And so by the time I get to sitting down, not only is my mind ready to sit down and get into flow state, but I've already done it. I've basically already painted it in my head once. Now I just have to sit down and relive it. If you are having an issue with something, visualize your way through it, and then I can almost guarantee you that your body is just gonna kind of do it next time. I think this also goes without saying, but one of the best things is to just keep going. I can't tell you how many awful pieces of artwork I have put out into the world. And I can't do anything about it. That's part of the learning process, is I'm going to put out bad pieces of artwork. And what I always find baffling is a lot of those actually sold. Which brings me to a whole nother topic, because art is so subjective that what you might not like or what you might see flaws in, someone else might not. So it never hurts to just put it out there. If anything, you'll just build the resilience of like, well, if I was able to put that out there into the world, when I finally get to a piece of artwork that I'm like super proud of, it's like, yeah, you've built that resilience. Everyone's been a beginner at something. Everyone's had to work at something. Like, we've all been there. I get it. Some people can be really rude and critical online, but just ignore them. That's nonsense. Just listen to yourself. Put it out there. Mute the comments if that makes you feel better. Get used to like not being perfect, but continuing to just work towards your goal of getting better. The most important thing is to just keep progressing, keep trying, even if it's not perfect. Again, see like the first bullet point, analyze it, but then just move on. Move on, try again. Ultimately, failure is not fatal. It is not the end of the world. We're allowed to put out bad pieces of artwork. We're allowed to have bad rides. We're allowed to have imperfect days. That's just part of it. I think the biggest thing is just going through it enough that you can build up the resilience and show yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to not have a good day or a masterpiece. Like, it is just okay for something to feel like a failure. And the most important thing is you just know that even still with feeling that way, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and keep going. On another note, I know if you read books on elite athlete kind of mentalities, they talk about not experiencing the highs of the highs or the lows of the lows, kind of not letting yourself experience either and staying in the middle. I get why they say this. I don't know that I 100% agree with it, because I think if you're dampening your experience of anything, you're dampening your experience of everything. And the whole point of life is to feel, and especially joy and the happiness of things. Like, that kind of is the point of life, right? So that's the only reason I don't really like that advice. I can see where it can help a lot of people if when they get to the lows, it's detrimental. Again, back to horseback riding. When I would have bad rides, I feel it wholeheartedly. I mean, I would get a little angry with myself, just frustrated, disappointed with myself. And I remember getting this advice, like, don't really get stuck in it. But this is, again, where I disagree, because with me, it actually was a really, really important process. So let's call those failures. The days that I failed, I let myself feel it because I had been through it enough times that I know that if I let myself dwell on it for that night, I'm thinking about it so much and replaying it so much that the next time I would show up to ride or to do something and I'm like problem solving, I'm thinking proactively, feeling the low left me more inspired to solve the problem. Again, I think of all things in this video, I don't know that you should take my advice wholeheartedly on this experiencing the highs and lows, because I don't think that works for everyone. I know myself really well, and I know I've gone through it enough that it's fine for me to feel that way. If you don't know that yet, maybe protect yourself a little bit. Dwell on it enough that it causes you to change. Don't dwell on it so much that it stops you from showing up the next day, okay? That's the bow on that statement. I think the other thing that being a pro athlete has taught me about failure and how that relates to art is not to rely on motivation, okay? I know this is kind of, we're like no longer really talking about failure, but it does indirectly, because when people first start, they're really motivated, right? And motivation is like fun, it's fiery, it's super gung-ho. That will fizzle out. I don't care who you are, motivation will disappear. So what you actually need to succeed is discipline. You need the discipline to show up, have a routine, to work on things. Any sort of discipline you can create is what you're gonna fall back on and rely on when you're not motivated. And the reason this relates to failure is because when you have a moment of failure, yes, sometimes you're gonna be really motivated to fix it or do something different. But I can promise you, there are gonna be some times where the last thing you feel is motivated. And the only thing you can depend on is your discipline of showing up, of going through your routine, of doing something. I think in order to combat failure, really, really work on discipline, because that will keep you accountable. It will keep you consistent, which is, those things alone are some of the best things to combat failure. To wrap this all up, I think I will just leave you with, again, one more little bit of inspiration, and that is to turn your failures into inspiration. I can tell you as an artist, when I talk about the paintings that I felt like didn't go well, I know exactly what paintings I'm talking about when I hear the word failure. And though they're there as a reminder, they also are my biggest source of inspiration, because I remember what that felt like to feel hopeless, lost, disappointed. I also remember some of the analysis I did on the paintings, and I went and worked on those things. I learned a lot, and I wouldn't have learned that without that sense of failure. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have spent all that time after working on all the things that I saw wrong with it, learning my brushes better. It was one of my greatest sources of inspiration. So remember, it's not failure, it's a learning opportunity, and use it to inspire you so that you are smooth sailing onto a future failure, which you can tackle again and again and again, because it's inevitable. They're gonna happen, so you might as well get excited for the conquering of failures and the continuation of just improving and getting better and learning. So my parting words for you: you have to want the success more than the discomfort it will take to overcome the challenges. I apologize, that was a lot of words. I hope it made sense. I hope you liked it. Please smash that like button and subscribe if you are not already. It really helps this channel grow. It means so much. Best of luck conquering your future. Hope you feel inspired and ready to, just go tackle all of the things. I'm here with you. And as always, thank you so much for joining, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. If you want to keep watching any of my videos, there's going to be one that pops up on the screen. And you can just see more of my content, which I also hope you enjoy. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.